My name is Morgan Purcell. I'm 31 years old, and 3 weeks ago, I buried my mother. The night before her funeral, a man I had never met pulled me into a hallway, pressed a small key into my palm, and said 7 words that cracked my life wide open. Your father has been lying to you. He told me there was a second will, one my father would destroy if he ever learned it existed. He told me that if my father found out I had that key, I was in danger. I did not sleep that night. By morning, I was standing inside a storage unit I never knew about, reading a letter from my dead mother that began, "If you're reading this, I didn't make it." Before I go any further, if this story resonates with you, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely connect with it, and drop your local time in the comments. I love knowing where you're listening from. But now let me take you back to a Tuesday afternoon in October, the day my mother's heart stopped and the day everything I believed about my family began to unravel. The call comes at 2:07 on a Tuesday afternoon. I'm charting vitals at the nurse's station when my phone buzzes and my father's name fills the screen. "Morgan, your mother collapsed. They're taking her to County General." I drive 20 minutes with both hands shaking on the wheel. I run the last red light on Elm. When I reach the ER entrance, a nurse I recognize, Patty, from the third floor, meets me with a face I have read 100 times on other families. My mother is already gone. Stroke. Massive. They say it was fast. They say she likely didn't feel much. I don't know who those words are supposed to comfort, because they don't comfort me. My father is standing at the admitting desk when I round the corner. He is signing paperwork. His pen moves steady and quick. Like he's closing a checking account. A woman from Morrison & Sons Funeral Home is beside him with a brochure open on the counter. He has already chosen the casket display, already confirmed the visitation window, already selected white lilies. My mother hated white lilies. She loved yellow daisies, but I can't make my mouth say that right now. "Dad, when did you get here?" "About an hour ago." An hour? He was here an hour before he called me. "I handled everything," he says. But he puts his hand on my shoulder. "You don't need to worry about any of this." That night, I go to my parents' house to sit in her bedroom. Her reading glasses are still on the nightstand. Her library book is still open, face down, holding her place. But her bedside drawer, the one she always kept locked, is empty, cleaned out. The little brass key she wore on a chain is gone. My mother has been dead for 6 hours, and her dresser is already bare. Wednesday morning, and I drive back to the house to help plan the service. The front door is unlocked. I hear music, soft jazz, the kind my mother never played, drifting from the kitchen. A woman I have never seen before is standing at my mother's stove, pouring coffee into my mother's favorite blue mug. She is wearing my mother's camel cashmere cardigan, the one with the patch pockets Mom sewed herself. "Morgan, this is Denise." My father steps out of the hallway. "She's a close friend. She's been helping me through this." Denise Harmon smiles at me the way you smile at someone's child. "I'm so sorry for your loss, sweetheart." I have never heard her name before, not once. I ask about Mom's home office, the little room off the den where she kept her files, her paperwork, her folder of important documents. My father waves his hand. "I cleaned all that up. Your mother kept so much clutter in there." The filing cabinet is empty. The desk drawers are bare. And even the corkboard above her desk, where she used to pin receipts and appointment cards, has been stripped clean. My father sits at the kitchen table and takes over the funeral arrangements. Music, speakers, guest list, flowers. When I ask if I can read the eulogy, he shakes his head. "I think it's better if I do it, Morgan. You'll get too emotional." Denise touches my arm. "Your dad knows best, sweetie." That's when I see it. On Denise's wrist, a thin silver bracelet engraved with the name Margaret. I gave my mother that bracelet for her birthday when I was 16. I saved 3 months of babysitting money. "Oh, this old thing?" Denise turns her wrist. "Your father said your mother wouldn't mind." I open my mouth, then I close it. Because if I react now, if I raise my voice or let my face twist, my father will use it. He will tell everyone I'm unstable. So I say quietly, "Actually, she would. That was a gift from me." Nobody answers. Thursday evening. Visitation at Morrison & Sons. The viewing room smells like carpet cleaner and refrigerated flowers. White lilies everywhere. My father stands at the entrance in a charcoal suit, greeting every person who walks through the door. Handshake, hug, red-rimmed eyes. He holds the hand of every woman who offers it a beat too long, and they all say the same thing, "Oh, Jerry, you poor man." I stand 3 feet to his left. But most people glance at me, nod politely, then turn back to him. A few pat my arm. One woman says, "You must be the daughter," as if I need an introduction at my own mother's viewing. I hear my father lean toward Ed Brennan, a family friend from the old neighborhood, and lower his voice just enough that I catch every word. Margaret had been struggling, mentally. The last few years were hard on all of us. Ed shakes his head. I had no idea. Jerry. She made some unusual financial decisions toward the end. I tried to help, but she wouldn't listen. My skin goes cold. He is standing 10 feet from her open casket, and he is rewriting her story for an audience. Uncle Ray, my father's younger brother, finds me by the guest book. He puts his heavy hand on my shoulder. "Your dad's been carrying this family on his back, Morgan. Try to be strong for him." I nod because I don't trust my mouth. Later, alone, I stand in front of my mother's casket. Her hands are folded. Her nails are painted the soft pink she always wore. Her face looks calm, arranged, like someone else's idea of her. I lean close enough that no one behind me can hear. "What were you trying to tell me, Mom?" The lilies don't answer, but something in the hallway is about to. The parking lot is almost empty when I push through the side door of the funeral home. The air is sharp and October cold, and I just need 1 minute where nobody touches my shoulder and calls me sweetheart. A man is leaning against the brick wall near the dumpsters. Silver hair, tweed coat. He looks like a retired professor waiting for a bus that stopped running years ago. "Miss Purcell?" I stop. "Do I know you?" "No, but I knew your mother." He steps forward. His hands are steady, but his eyes are not. "My name is Harold Briggs. I was your mother's attorney." I need 5 minutes. Attorney. My mother didn't have an attorney. My father handled everything. Every contract, every policy, every account. He always said Mom didn't understand that stuff. Harold walks me to the far end of the lot, away from the building, away from the windows. "Your father has been lying to you your entire life." His voice is quiet and even, the way someone talks when they have rehearsed a sentence for months. "There is a second will, one he doesn't want found. And if he discovers that you know about it, you are in danger." He reaches into his coat pocket and presses a small key into my hand, a brass key with a plastic tag. A number is written on the tag in my mother's handwriting. "Your mother prepared for this, Morgan. She didn't trust that she would be alive to tell you herself." "Why should I believe you?" Harold opens a worn leather folder and removes a single photograph. My mother, seated at a desk, signing a document, smiling faintly. On her wrist, the silver bracelet with her name. "I made a promise to Margaret," he says. "I intend to keep it." He turns to leave, then stops. "Check the unit tonight. Your father filed his version of the will this morning." 9 p.m. The storage facility sits behind a Dairy Queen on Route 11, the kind of place where people keep lawnmowers and Christmas decorations. Fluorescent lights buzz over numbered roll-up doors. My hands are shaking so badly it takes me 3 tries to fit the key. The door rattles up. Inside, 3 cardboard boxes on a metal shelf. My mother's handwriting is on every label. Box 1. 12 leather-bound journals, numbered 1 through 12, spines cracked from use. Box 2. Manila folders, thick with paperwork. Bank statements, insurance documents, photocopies of the deed to the house. Box 3 holds a single large envelope, written across the front in blue ink. "For Morgan, open first." I sit on the cold concrete floor and tear the seal, 4 pages. But my mother's handwriting, small, precise, unwavering. The first line, "My dearest girl, if you're reading this, it means I didn't make it. Your father is not who you think he is." The letter is organized the way Mom organized everything. Numbered points, dates, references to documents in the second box. She writes that my father took control of every bank account within the first 3 years of their marriage. That he moved $180,000 she inherited from my grandmother into a joint account, and then transferred it piece by piece to an account in his name alone. that he changed the beneficiary on her life insurance policy from me to himself 4 years ago, without her signature. And she writes, "He told me if I ever said a word, he would make sure you believed I was crazy. I was too afraid to leave, but I was not too afraid to prepare." At the bottom of the letter, one more line. "He took my money, he took my voice. Don't let him take yours." I close the envelope. I open box 2. And I start counting. The documents tell a story my father never wanted told. He filed his version of my mother's will with the county probate court at 9:14 this morning, 12 hours after her viewing, before the flowers on her casket had wilted. In his version, everything goes to him. The house, the joint savings, the life insurance. I receive a trust of $25,000, administered by Gerald Purcell. But in the second box, paper clipped to a sheet of my mother's notes, is another will. And dated 6 months after his, notarized by an independent notary public. 2 witnesses, clear language. The house goes to me, the savings go to me. And a separate life insurance policy I never knew existed, $200,000, with me as sole beneficiary, is referenced by policy number. My mother also left a handwritten note clipped to the will. Under state law, the later dated valid will supersedes all prior versions, Harold will explain. I understand now. If I do nothing, if I stay quiet, stay the good daughter, let my father handle everything. The court will accept his filing. The house, the accounts, everything my mother built, and everything that was stolen from her, lands in his hands legally. And the journals, the statements, the letter, all of it becomes meaningless paper in a storage unit no one will ever open again. I call Harold at 11 p.m. What do I do? We file tomorrow, and we need a forensic accountant. But Morgan, you cannot let your father know. Not yet. When I hang up, my phone buzzes. My father. Where have you been? It's late. I keep my voice flat. I went for a drive. I needed air. 3 seconds of silence, then. Okay, don't forget. The will reading is Thursday. 3 days. I have 3 days to keep my father from learning that the woman he thought he had silenced just spoke from the grave. I don't sleep. As I carry the boxes to my apartment and sit cross-legged on the living room floor under a single lamp and open journal number 1. My mother started writing when I was 6 years old. The first entry is dated March 14th. She describes my father asking her to transfer Grandma's inheritance, $180,000, into their joint account. For the family, he said, so I can manage it properly. Within 4 months, she notes, the balance dropped by half. She asked where the money went, and he told her she wouldn't understand. Journal 2. I'm 8. She writes about my birthday party, the one I remember being canceled because Mom was sick, except she wasn't sick. Gerald called the venue and canceled it this morning. He told Morgan I had a migraine. I was in the kitchen making her cake when he walked in and said, I told her you're not feeling well. I asked him why. He said, because I decided we're not spending that money. Morgan came home from school and wouldn't look at me. I remember that day. I remember thinking my mother forgot. I remember my father sitting on the edge of my bed that night saying, Mom's just tired, sweetheart. She tries her best. He used me. He used a child to build a wall between my mother and me. And I carried the bricks for him for 25 years without knowing it. Journal 3. I'm 11. And Mom tries to open her own checking account. Gerald finds the statement in the mail, and that night she writes, he told the Hendersons at dinner that I've been acting strange. I'm worried about her, he said. They looked at me like I was broken. She was documenting. Every entry dated, every claim cross-referenced. My mother wasn't fragile. She was building a record. Tuesday night. I spread the financial documents across my kitchen table like autopsy photographs. As my mother highlighted every anomaly in yellow, sticky notes in her handwriting flagged the worst ones. She was methodical. She was patient. She was furious in the quietest possible way. The bank statements span 15 years. The transfers follow a pattern: $3,000 here, $5,000 there, $8,000 in December, always just below the threshold that would trigger a flag. Over 15 years, roughly $340,000 moved from joint accounts into accounts bearing only my father's name. But accounts my mother was never added to. Accounts at a bank 2 towns over. Then there's the life insurance. My mother's policy, $500,000, originally naming me as beneficiary, was changed 4 years ago. The new beneficiary, Gerald Purcell. The signature on the change form is supposed to be my mother's, but she placed the original next to a photocopy and circled the differences. The slant is wrong. The G in Morgan doesn't loop the way hers does. She couldn't prove it alone, but she knew. And she prepared a countermove I'm only now understanding. 3 years ago, without telling my father, she purchased a separate life insurance policy through Harold's office, $200,000, beneficiary, Morgan Purcell. My father's name appears nowhere on the document. I also find, stapled to the back of a bank statement, a handwritten list titled Forged. 2 entries. 2 documents where someone signed Margaret Purcell's name, and it wasn't Margaret Purcell. And I sit back in the chair and press my palms against my eyes. $340,000. 25 years. That's the price he put on my mother's silence. And the forgery. That isn't just financial abuse anymore. That's a crime with a name. Wednesday morning. One day before the reading. I drive to my parents' house because that is what a good daughter does. And right now I need my father to believe I am exactly the daughter he raised me to be. And he's at the kitchen table reading the newspaper, relaxed, coffee steaming, like a man whose largest concern is the weather. "Morning, sweetheart. Want some eggs?" "Sure, Dad." He cracks 2 eggs into the pan. "I met with the attorney yesterday. Everything is straightforward. Don't worry about the finances. I'll take care of you." "Did Mom ever talk to you about her wishes?" He doesn't turn around. "Your mother didn't have a head for those things." I hear the front door open. But Denise walks in carrying a grocery bag. She is wearing a ring I recognize. My mother's garnet ring, the one Mom wore on her right hand every Sunday for as long as I can remember. "Jerry said I should hold on to some of Margaret's things." Denise sets the bag on the counter. "For safekeeping." I smile. I nod. I eat the eggs. In the car, I call Harold. "We file the second will tomorrow morning, first thing." "Already in motion. I've contacted Vivian Cole, forensic accountant, and the report will be ready by Thursday." "Good." I hang up and sit in the driveway for a moment. Through the kitchen window, I can see my father laughing at something Denise said. He looks comfortable. He looks certain. When I pull out, he is standing at the window watching my car. His face is not grieving. It is calculating. That was the last lie I ever told him. "Sure, Dad," spoken over a plate of eggs in my dead mother's kitchen while her ring sat on another woman's finger. As sitting in that car outside my mother's house, I genuinely asked myself, am I overreacting? Is this just a clumsy, grief-stricken man who doesn't know how to handle a funeral? Or is this really the person who stole my mother's entire life while she was still living it? If you found that letter, those journals, those bank statements, would you trust them immediately? Or would you doubt yourself the way I did sitting in that driveway watching him laugh through the window? Tell me in the comments. I really want to know. Wednesday morning, 8:45. Harold Briggs meets me at the county courthouse before the clerk's window is even open. He's carrying a leather briefcase older than I am and wearing the same tweed coat. He looks like he hasn't slept much either, but his hands are steady and his voice is clear. "We file now," he says, "before your father's attorney can push the first will through processing." I watch the clerk stamp the document. As I watch her log this case number. The second will, my mother's real will, dated 6 months after the one my father filed, is now part of the official record. Harold explains in the hallway, keeping his voice low. Under state probate law, when 2 valid wills exist, the later dated instrument controls. Your father's will was drafted 5 years ago. Your mother's was executed 2.5 years ago, notarized by an independent notary public, and witnessed by 2 individuals who are alive and willing to testify. What if he says she was mentally unfit? Harold pauses. He expected this question. That's exactly what he'll try. It's why he's been telling everyone she was struggling and confused. He's been building that narrative for years, Morgan. But your mother anticipated it. He taps the briefcase. 12 journals, detailed, dated, cross-referenced to financial records. A forensic accountant's report confirming the transactions. 2 witnesses who sat in the room when she signed, who will testify she was lucid, determined, and fully aware of what she was doing. He looks at me over his glasses. Your mother didn't just make a will, she built a fortress around it. I nod. My throat is tight, but my voice is not. What about tomorrow? The reading? Tomorrow, we let your father go first. We let him finish, then I walk in. Wednesday afternoon. As I sit in Harold's small office above the hardware store on Main Street, the kind of office with a window air conditioner and a framed law degree from 1983, and listen to Vivian Cole's voice through the speakerphone. Vivian is a forensic accountant Harold has worked with before. She's been reviewing the documents since yesterday morning, and she sounds like a woman who has seen this pattern 100 times and is still angry about it. Approximately $340,000 transferred from joint accounts to accounts solely in Gerald Purcell's name over a 15-year period. Multiple transfers structured below reporting thresholds. Beneficiary changes on the primary life insurance policy executed without verified co-signer consent. 2 signatures on banking documents that do not match Margaret Purcell's authenticated samples. She pauses. This is textbook elder financial abuse. If the district attorney's office wants to examine this, there is more than sufficient documentation. Harold mutes the phone and looks at me. We'll have the written summary printed and ready for tomorrow. I'm making 3 copies. One for you, one for me, one for Vivian's records. What happens at the reading? Your father's attorney will present his will. He'll read it aloud. People will nod. Then I'll enter the room and present ours. And the forensic report? I'll have a printed summary available if his attorney questions the validity. But Morgan, the will speaks for itself. The report is the hammer behind it. I help Harold organize the copies, bank statements in chronological order, insurance documents tabbed, the 2 pages with forged signatures flagged with red sticky notes. Your mother didn't just protect you, Harold says quietly, straightening a stack. She built a case. All we had to do was present it. The paper trail doesn't lie. Tomorrow neither will I. Wednesday evening. My father hosts what he calls a family dinner at the house. The house that still smells like my mother's lavender sachets in the closets, though I doubt they'll last long. He's invited everyone. Aunts, cousins, neighbors, old co-workers from the bank. Denise is in the kitchen wearing my mother's apron, stirring a pot of chili with my mother's wooden spoon. And something about the image is so precise in its wrongness that I have to look away. Gerald stands at the head of the table and raises his glass. Margaret would have wanted us together. Tomorrow we make things official, and then we move forward as a family. Uncle Ray leans back in his chair, arms crossed, satisfied. Hear, hear. I eat. I smile when spoken to. I compliment the chili. I am performing the role of grieving daughter so convincingly that it scares me a little. Denise pulls a neighbor aside near the buffet to show off a pendant necklace. As I recognize it immediately, my mother's small gold locket, the one with baby photos of me inside. Jerry gave it to me. Isn't it beautiful? I watch the neighbor's face tighten for half a second before she nods. After dinner, my father catches me at the door. You okay, kiddo? I'm fine, Dad. See you tomorrow. In the car, I sit in the dark and think about my mother sitting at the same table for 28 years, smiling the way I just smiled, performing the way I just performed. Except she did it every single day. Tomorrow, I keep my promise. As I pull away, I see my father through the window, standing at my mother's desk, going through her wallet. He takes out her last bank card. He doesn't know that account was frozen this morning. In 12 hours, every person at that dinner table will know who Gerald Purcell really is. Thursday morning, 10 o'clock, Morrison and Sons Funeral Home, Conference Room B. But my father has arranged 30 chairs in neat rows facing a small podium. 30 chairs, for a will reading. Normally this is a private affair. Immediate family, maybe a close friend. But Gerald Purcell has turned this into a public event. I scan the room as people file in. Aunts and uncles, cousins I see twice a year, neighbors from Maple Drive, Ed Brennan from the old neighborhood, Bob Hensley, my father's golf partner of 20 years, 2 women from my mother's garden club, a man I recognized from the bank where my father worked before retirement. 30 witnesses. My father wants an audience. He stands near the front in a pressed navy suit, shaking hands, accepting condolences with practiced humility. Denise sits in the front row, legs crossed, in a new black dress, not my mother's clothes today at least. Uncle Ray takes the seat beside Denise, arms folded, jaw set, the enforcer. At the podium, a man I haven't met arranges papers inside a leather folder. Terence Holt, my father's attorney. Mid-50s, Good suit, the kind of confidence that comes from never being questioned in a room like this. I sit in the third row, quiet, hands in my lap. I look exactly like what my father expects me to be. The emotional daughter who will nod along and sign whatever is placed in front of her. My phone is in my pocket. I send one text under the edge of my purse. I'm here, third row. Harold's reply comes in 4 seconds. I'm in the parking lot. Won't wait for my signal. The room fills. The door closes. Terrence Holt clears his throat, and the performance begins. Terrence Holt reads with the smooth authority of a man who has done this 100 times. He holds the document at chest height and speaks in measured paragraphs, as if he's narrating something noble. The last will and testament of Margaret Ann Purcell, dated March 12, 2021, 5 years ago. When my mother was still smiling in photographs, and my father was still telling everyone what a devoted husband he was. The terms are simple and brutal. The house on Maple Drive, appraised at approximately $380,000, goes to Gerald. The joint savings account goes to Gerald. The life insurance policy, $500,000, goes to Gerald. Morgan Purcell receives a trust of $25,000 to be administered by Gerald Purcell. $25,000. Managed by him. Out of everything my mother worked for, everything she inherited, everything she saved, I get an allowance, controlled by the man who took it all. Holt sets the paper down. My father stands. Margaret and I discussed this many times. His voice cracks just enough to sound genuine. She wanted me to make sure Morgan is taken care of. I'll manage things responsibly, as I always have. Heads nod. Ray says loud enough for the back row. That sounds fair. Jerry's always been the responsible one. A woman behind me whispers to her husband. Poor Jerry. My father turns to me. 30 people watching. He puts his hand on my shoulder and squeezes. I know this is a lot, sweetheart, but I'll take care of everything. You don't need to think about money. Then, quieter, but not quiet enough. Morgan's like her mother, wonderful heart, but not great with numbers. A few people chuckle softly. Linda Marsh, my mother's oldest friend, does not chuckle. She is watching me with steady, unblinking eyes. I let the silence sit for 3 beats. Then I say calmly, "Can I say something?" My father smiles. He thinks I'm going to thank him. He steps aside and gestures toward the room like a host offering a microphone. Of course, sweetheart. I stand. My voice is level. I just want to understand. Mom worked for 28 years. She inherited money from Grandma. She paid into her life insurance for over 2 decades. And everything goes to you? The room shifts. Not dramatically, just a slight tightening. A few people glance at each other. My father's smile fades by a degree. Morgan, this isn't the time. We talked about this. We never talked about this. Not once. Uncle Ray leans forward. Come on, Morgan. Your dad's been the one paying the bills for 30 years. Don't make this about money. Denise shifts in her chair and says, just loud enough. Poor thing. She's been so emotional since Margaret passed. Maybe she needs some time. My father lowers his voice into the register he uses when he wants a room to believe he is concerned rather than angry. See, this is what I was worried about. She's not in the right headspace to deal with these things. And there it is, the playbook. Exactly what my mother described in her letter. Step 1, dismiss. Step 2, diagnose. Step 3, control. If 30 people are looking at me now, some with sympathy, some with discomfort, a few with the expression people wear when they think they're watching a fragile woman unravel, Uncle Ray mutters, "Girls and money don't mix. Your daddy knows what's best." I look down at my phone. One new message from Harold. I'm at the door. My father turns to Terrence Holt. I think we're done here. Holt nods and begins gathering the papers. The room exhales. People start reaching for their coats, their purses. It's over. Gerald Purcell has staged his performance, and the audience is ready to go home believing exactly what he wanted them to believe. Gerald takes Denise's hand and faces the room. I appreciate everyone coming. Margaret would be touched. Ray stands and claps once. Let's give Jerry some peace. The man just lost his wife. This is the moment. I rise from the third row. My hands are trembling slightly, but my voice is not. Actually, we're not done. Every head turns. Gerald's jaw tightens. Morgan, sit down. I'd like to introduce someone. The door to conference room B opens. Harold Briggs steps through with his worn leather briefcase in one hand. He is wearing the same tweed coat. He looks like a man who has been waiting 3 years to walk through this exact door. My father sees him, and I watch something I have never seen before on Gerald Purcell's face. Fear. Not surprise, not confusion. Fear. The specific, electric fear of a man who recognizes the one loose end he failed to tie. Because he knows Harold. Not well, but he knows the name. My mother mentioned him once during an argument 2 years ago, and my father dismissed it, told her she was making things up. He thought she was bluffing. She wasn't. Harold sets his briefcase on the podium and addresses the room. Good morning, everyone. My name is Harold Briggs, and I was Margaret Purcell's attorney for the last 3 years of her life. I'm here because Margaret asked me to be. I look at my father. Sit down, Dad. It's your turn to listen. Harold opens the briefcase with the care of a man handling evidence, which is exactly what this is. Margaret Purcell retained me in September 3 years ago. She came to my office alone. She was not confused. She was not impaired. She was afraid, not for herself, but for her daughter. He removes a document and holds it so the front row can see the notary seal. This is the last will and testament of Margaret Ann Purcell, executed 2.5 years ago. It was notarized by an independent notary public and witnessed by 2 individuals who are present in this room today. I hear Denise inhale sharply. Uncle Ray's arms uncross for the first time all morning. Harold reads the terms. The house on Maple Drive, to Morgan Purcell. The savings accounts, to Morgan Purcell. A separate life insurance policy, $200,000, to Morgan Purcell. Gerald Purcell receives nothing. My father is on his feet before Harold finishes. That's a forgery. My wife would never. The notary is on record, Mr. Purcell. Would you like me to call her? Terrence Holt, Gerald's own attorney, reaches for the document. Harold hands him a copy. Holt reads it once, reads it again, and then leans toward my father. Jerry, sit down. Gerald doesn't sit. From the second row, Linda Marsh, my mother's best friend, 61 years old, silver-haired, quiet until now, stands. I was a witness, she says. Her voice doesn't waver. I watched Margaret sign that will. She was clear-headed and she was determined, and she told me, if anything happens to me, make sure Morgan knows. Harold addresses the room one more time. Under state probate law, the later dated valid will supersedes all prior versions. This will was filed with the county courthouse yesterday morning. The room is silent. 30 people. Not one sound. The silence fractures when my father slams his palm on the arm of his chair. This is ridiculous. Margaret was confused. She didn't know what she was. I'd like to read something. I stand. I am holding my mother's letter. The paper is slightly creased from where I pressed it to my chest 2 nights ago on the floor of a storage unit. Not all of it, just enough. I read 3 sentences, my mother's words, in my voice, in a room full of people who thought they knew our family. He took control of every dollar I earned. He made me ask permission to buy groceries, and when I tried to tell someone, he told them I was losing my mind. Doris Reed, the woman who has lived next door to my parents for 40 years, who brought casseroles every Christmas, who waved to my mother across the fence every morning, puts her hand over her mouth. Ed Brennan stares at the floor. 2 women from the garden club turn to each other with wide eyes. She was sick, my father says. Bet his voice has climbed half an octave. She didn't know what she was writing. I do not raise my voice. She dated every entry. She cross-referenced bank statements. She kept receipts for 12 years, Dad. Uncle Ray pushes up from his chair. This is a setup. You're trying to steal from your own father. Sit down, Ray. Linda Marsh, voice like a door closing. For once in your life, sit down and listen. Ray sits. The room is rearranging itself. Yet I can feel it. The way 30 people quietly revise a story they believed for decades. The concerned husband, the unstable wife, the emotional daughter. My mother spent 25 years being told she was crazy. My voice is steady. She wasn't crazy. She was documenting. Harold places his phone on the podium and presses the speaker button. This is Vivian Cole, certified forensic accountant. But I was retained to examine the financial records of Margaret and Gerald Purcell. Vivian's voice fills the room. Professional, precise, unhurried. The voice of someone who testifies in courtrooms and doesn't flinch. My analysis covers a 15-year period. Approximately $340,000 was transferred from joint accounts into accounts held solely by Gerald Purcell. The transfers were structured in amounts designed to avoid automated detection. While beneficiary changes on the primary life insurance policy were executed without verified cosigner consent. Additionally, 2 signatures on banking documents do not match Margaret Purcell's authenticated handwriting samples. She pauses. The pattern is consistent with elder financial abuse as defined under state statute. Harold lifts a printed summary from his briefcase and walks it directly to Terence Holt. Holt takes the pages. He reads the first paragraph, turns to the second, and then sets the document face down on his lap. He leans toward Gerald. I cannot hear what he says, but I see my father's face drain of color. Gerald turns to the room. This is lies. All of it. Every word. Nobody responds. Bob Hensley, my father's golf partner of 20 years, stands up slowly, picks up his jacket from the back of his chair, and walks out of the room without a word. Denise, who has been sitting rigid in the front row, pulls her hand away from my father's arm. She moves it to her own lap. It's a small gesture, but everyone in the front 2 rows sees it. My father is standing in the center of a room full of people he has known for decades, and for the first time, not a single one of them is looking at him with sympathy. You're all being manipulated, he says, by a dead woman. No one moves. My father turns to me. His eyes are wet and his voice is shaking, but it's not grief. It's the sound of a man watching the walls come down. After everything I've done for you, I raised you, I fed you, I gave you a home. You can speak to my attorney, Dad. You're making a mistake, Morgan. You'll regret this. Mom made a decision. I'm honoring it. Harold steps forward and addresses the room one final time. The second will has been filed with the county court and is now part of the official probate record. Additionally, the financial evidence documented by Mrs. Purcell and confirmed by forensic analysis will be forwarded to the county district attorney's office for review, District Attorney. The 2 words land in the room like a dropped glass. Doris Reed turns to her husband. 2 cousins in the back row stand and move toward the door. Uncle Ray hasn't said a word in 5 minutes. Gerald looks around the room. He turns a full circle, searching for an ally. Someone who will tell him this is wrong, someone who will take his side. His eyes pass over Ed Brennan, who looks away. Over the women from the garden club, who stare at their laps. Over Denise, who is now standing in the far corner of the room, arms wrapped around herself. Over Ray, who sits with his jaw clenched and his eyes on the carpet. Nobody meets his gaze. I collect my purse from the 3rd row. I'm not doing this to hurt anyone. My mother asked me to protect what she built. That's what I'm doing. I walk toward the door. As I pass my father, he grabs my arm. His grip is tight. I look him directly in the eyes and pull my arm free. Don't touch me. I say it clearly. I say it once. I walk out into the October sunlight. Behind me, I hear his voice, high, cracking, desperate. She's lying. She's lying. But no one follows him out. 24 hours later, the calls begin. Terence Holt phones Harold's office at 9 a.m. Friday morning. I sit across from Harold and listen on speaker. I've reviewed the documentation you provided. Holt's voice is different today, stripped of the authority he wore at the reading. I've advised my client not to contest the second will. The evidentiary record is substantial. Harold nods at me. We appreciate the call, Terence. There's one more thing. I'll be withdrawing as Gerald's counsel effective today. Given the nature of the allegations, I'm unable to continue representation while maintaining my obligations to the bar. Gerald's own attorney has fired him. Harold hangs up and opens a folder. I've sent a formal letter to your father. You're requesting that he and any non-family occupants vacate the property within 30 days, per the probate agreement. And the DA? The forensic report and supporting documents were forwarded to the county district attorney's office this morning. They've opened a preliminary review. That afternoon, my phone shows 6 missed calls from my father. I don't answer. But I listen to the voicemails later, in order. The first one is rage. You think you can steal from me? After everything? The second is bargaining. Let's talk about this. We can work something out. The third is a threat. I'll fight this. I'll fight you in court. The fourth is weeping. No words. Just the sound of a 63-year-old man crying into a phone. And even through everything, through the forgery and the theft and the gaslighting and the 25 years of lies, I feel something twist in my chest. Not forgiveness. Just the ache of recognizing that the man I loved as my father actually existed somewhere inside the man who did all this. I delete the voicemails and close my phone. In a town this small, 30 witnesses may as well be a billboard. By Monday, the story has made its rounds. Not the tabloid version, the quiet kind. Whispered over coffee at Barton's diner, mentioned between sets at the Rotary luncheon, discussed in lowered voices at the post office. Linda Marsh calls me on Tuesday. Honey, I knew your mama was hurting, but I didn't know how bad. I should have pushed harder. You were there when it mattered, Linda. You signed that will. She's quiet for a moment. She was so calm that day. Sat in Harold's office and signed like she was paying a water bill. But her hands were shaking under the table. Bob Hensley calls Gerald to cancel their standing Wednesday golf game. He doesn't give a reason, just says, I need some space, Jerry. Gerald knows what that means. Gerald goes to the Rotary Club that Thursday. People are polite, no one is rude. But no one saves him a seat, and when he sits at a table with 3 men he's known for 20 years, the conversation dies until he excuses himself. The small humiliations of a small town. No one confronts him. No one has to. Denise moves her things out of the house on Wednesday. She leaves quietly. No scene, no argument. On the kitchen table, she places every piece of my mother's jewelry she had taken. The locket, the garnet ring, the silver bracelet engraved with Margaret. She doesn't leave a note. I don't think Denise left because she realized my father was wrong. I think she left because the money was gone. That's an uglier truth, but it's the real one. Uncle Ray calls me Saturday morning. His voice is thick. Morgan, I didn't know. I know Uncle Ray, but I don't invite him to the house. 3 weeks after the funeral, the probate court accepts the second will. The house on Maple Drive officially transfers to my name. The separate life insurance policy, $200,000, clears into my account. The joint savings, approximately $85,000, remains frozen pending the DA's review, but Harold tells me it's only a matter of time. Gerald does not challenge the will. Terrence Holt, in his final communication, confirms. My former client has elected not to contest. He doesn't explain why, but I know. Challenging the will would make the forensic report a public court record. Every highlighted bank statement, every forged signature, every journal entry, entered into evidence for anyone to read. Gerald may be many things, but he's not stupid. He leaves town on a Tuesday, but moves in with an old college roommate 2 states away. No forwarding address, no goodbye. The DA's office continues its review. Harold says, it may take months, but the evidence is solid. Even if they don't prosecute, the record exists. I change the locks on a Thursday. A locksmith named Jerry does the work in 40 minutes and says, nice house, moving in? I grew up here. That evening, I walk through every room. I leave my mother's bookshelves untouched. Then I water the spider plant she kept by the kitchen window. It's still alive, which seems like a small miracle. I return the silver bracelet to her jewelry box in the bedroom, resting it on the velvet lining where it belongs. I open the dresser, the one my father emptied 6 hours after she died. The drawers are bare, but as I pull the last one out to wipe it clean, something catches between the wood and the bottom panel. A small photograph. Me, 5 years old, sitting on my mother's lap. Both of us laughing. He cleaned out her dresser in 6 hours, but he missed the one thing that mattered. Let me be clear about what Gerald Purcell lost, because I think the numbers matter. The house, $380,000. Gone. It was my mother's before it was theirs, purchased with her inheritance from my grandmother, and now it's mine. The separate life insurance, $200,000. The policy my mother took out in secret, through Harold, with me as the sole beneficiary. Gerald never knew it existed. And the joint savings, $85,000, frozen by court order, pending investigation. His attorney, withdrew. His golf partner stopped calling. His Rotary friends politely suggested he take a break from meetings. Denise, gone. She didn't leave because she had a moral reckoning. She left because the money left first. The $340,000 he siphoned over 25 years? Spent. My mother's journals document what she could track. A car he bought Denise. $42,000. Roughly the same amount my mother secretly saved for me. Sports gambling. Trips she was never invited on. Gifts for a woman who wore my mother's jewelry before the casket was closed. The DA's preliminary review remains open. Harold says charges are not guaranteed. Many elder financial abuse cases don't result in prosecution. But the file exists. The evidence exists. And if Gerald Purcell ever tries to rewrite this story, there are 12 handwritten journals and a forensic report that say otherwise. He sent me a letter last week. 4 pages, handwritten, which tells me he's been sitting somewhere with nothing but time. He doesn't apologize. He writes that he was misunderstood, and that your mother always exaggerated things. I read it once. I fold it carefully. I place it in the box with the rest of the evidence. I don't feel victorious. I don't feel triumphant. I feel finished. And for the first time in my life, that's enough. It takes me 2 weeks to finish the journals. The first 9 are painful. A catalog of small thefts and large silences. A woman watching her life be dismantled one forged signature at a time. But the last 3 journals are different. In the final years, my mother stops writing about Gerald. She writes about me. About the afternoons I come home to visit and we sit on the porch and drink iced tea. And about the tomatoes she grows in the backyard and saves for me because she knows I love them on sandwiches. About a book she read that made her think of me. She transcribes a passage and writes beside it. Morgan would like this. Between journal entries, I find letters she wrote but never sent. I'm sorry I didn't leave sooner. I was afraid he'd take you from me. By the time you were old enough to understand, I was too deep. Forgive me for that, if you can. And this. In an entry from 18 months before she died. I opened a 529 education fund in Morgan's name 10 years ago. It's in the storage unit. Use it if you ever want to go back to school, baby. I checked the documents. She was right. A 529 account, funded in quiet increments. $50 here, $100 there, skimmed from the grocery budget my father gave her every month. Balance. Approximately $18,000. Gerald never noticed because he never looked at what she spent. He only looked at what she earned. $18,000. Built $50 at a time over a decade, from a woman who had to ask permission to buy groceries. I sit on her bed holding the last journal and I cry for the first time since she died. Not because I'm sad, because I finally understand the size of her love, measured not in what she said, but in what she hid for me. I can't give her the world, she wrote, but I can make sure he doesn't take it from her. I send my father one email. It is 6 sentences long. I won't be in contact for the foreseeable future. If you need to communicate regarding legal or financial matters, please direct all correspondence through Harold Briggs. I wish you no harm, but I will not pretend. You may reach Harold at the number below. He replies the same day. His email is long, 9 paragraphs of justification, minimization, and revision. But he writes that my mother always had a flair for drama. He writes that any financial decisions were made for the good of the family. He does not use the word sorry. I read it once. I do not reply. I meet Uncle Ray at the coffee shop on Main Street the following Saturday. He looks smaller than I remember. He orders black coffee and stares at it. Uncle Ray, I don't hate you, but you stood in that room and backed the man who robbed my mother. I need time. He nods. I understand. It's the first time in my life he hasn't argued. I keep Linda Marsh close. She comes by the house every Thursday with banana bread and stories. How she and my mother met at a PTA meeting in 1998. How Mom once drove 40 minutes in a snowstorm to bring Linda soup when she had the flu. How Mom laughed with her whole body when no one was watching. I send handwritten thank you notes to Harold and Vivian. Harold is retiring now, fully, officially. And he tells me on the phone, this was the last case Margaret would have wanted me to close. The week after, Linda mentions something she's been holding back. Your mama gave me a USB drive 2 years ago, said it was a backup of everything, in case the storage unit was ever found and emptied. My mother thought of everything, even the scenario where she lost. "I wish you had been the father you pretended to be," I wrote in that email. But wishing doesn't change the records. There was a moment, reading those last journals, where I found myself wondering something I may never have the answer to. Did my mother ever forgive him? Not publicly, not legally, but in her heart, in the quiet of those journal pages, did she let go of it? Or did she carry that weight until the very end? I'll never know. But I want to ask you, if you discovered that the person you trusted most in this world had been lying to you your entire life, could you forgive them? Not should you. Could you? Tell me in the comments. I've been thinking about this for weeks. 2 months after the funeral, I move into the house on Maple Drive. The first thing I do is paint the living room. My mother always wanted it a pale blue, the color of a winter sky just before it clears. My father said it was too feminine and kept it beige for 28 years. It takes me a Saturday afternoon and 2 coats. And when the light comes through the front windows the next morning, the room looks like a place my mother would have loved. I plant the garden, lavender along the fence, because she talked about it every spring and never did it. Tomatoes in the raised bed she built herself. Daisies, yellow, not white, beside the mailbox. Linda brings over a climbing rose she found at the nursery on Route 9. Your mama wanted one of these for years. We plant it together, kneeling in the dirt. And Linda tells me about the time my mother entered a tomato in the county fair and came in second and pretended she wasn't furious. I used the 529 fund to enroll in an online MSN program, Master of Science in Nursing. It's something I've wanted for years. When I mentioned it once at a family dinner, my father said, "You don't need more school, Morgan. You already have a job." Mom thought otherwise. She saved $18,000 for this, $50 at a time. As I put a photo of her on the bookshelf in the living room, not the funeral portrait, a real one, from a barbecue in 2016. She's holding a glass of lemonade and laughing at something off camera. Her eyes are bright. That's the version of her I want to see every day. Friday evening, I sit on the porch with a mug of tea and listen to the crickets. For the first time in my life, I don't need anyone's permission to be here. I'm not telling you this story so you'll feel sorry for me. That I had a mother who loved me fiercely enough to plan 3 years ahead from inside a cage she couldn't escape. That's not a tragedy. That's a gift. I'm telling you, because I know someone is listening right now who is living the life my mother lived. Someone whose partner controls every dollar. Someone who's been told, by family, by friends, by the person sitting across from them at dinner, that they're too emotional, too sensitive, too confused to understand their own life. If that's you, and I want to share 3 things I learned the hard way. First, if someone tells you you're crazy for questioning the math, check the receipts. My mother did. It took her years, but she built a record that couldn't be dismissed. You don't need a law degree, you need a notebook and the courage to write down what's real. Second, silence protects the person who benefits from it. It never protects you. My mother was silent for 25 years because she was told that silence was loyalty. And it wasn't loyalty, it was a leash. Third, you don't have to scream to be heard. You just have to show up with the truth. I didn't raise my voice in that room. I didn't need to. The documents spoke, the witnesses spoke, the numbers spoke. Truth is quiet, and it is patient, and it outlasts every lie ever told about you. I don't hate my father. I am disappointed in him in a way that I think will last the rest of my life. But I chose not to carry that with me. It's too heavy. And my mother already carried it long enough for both of us. She couldn't leave, but she made sure I could walk out standing up. I used to think being a good daughter meant being quiet. Now I know being a good daughter means finishing what my mother started. Here's where things stand today. Gerald Purcell is living in another state with a college friend. The district attorney's office has not closed its review. I don't check for updates. Harold will call me when there's something to know. 3 weeks ago, my father sent me a text message, the last one I'll mention. "You destroyed this family." I typed back 5 words. "No, Dad, you did. 25 years ago." I haven't blocked his number. I don't need to. A boundary isn't a wall. It's just a decision you make once and keep making every day. I don't respond. I don't engage. I don't explain. Some mornings I pour coffee into my mother's blue mug and sit at the kitchen table and feel her in the room. Not in a mystical way, just in the way the light hits the counter the same way it always did, and the spider plant is still growing, and the house smells like lavender because I planted it where she always wanted it. I keep her last journal on my nightstand, not to remind myself of what happened, but to remind myself that a woman with no power, no allies, no voice, found a way to protect her daughter from beyond the grave. She couldn't fight him while she was alive, so she armed me to fight him after she was gone. And if you're listening to this and something feels wrong in your family, a number that doesn't add up, a signature you didn't authorize, a question you're told not to ask, trust that feeling. Document it. Tell someone. Because the truth doesn't expire, it just waits. Thank you for staying until the end. If you know someone who might be experiencing financial control in their family, a partner, a parent, a friend who keeps saying it's fine when it clearly isn't, send them this story. And sometimes knowing that someone else walked through it and came out the other side is enough to make them start. If this story mattered to you, hit like and subscribe. I have more stories like this one, and they're all true in the ways that count. In the description below, I've linked another story I think you'll want to hear, about a woman who uncovered a family secret at the Thanksgiving dinner table that no one saw coming. I'll see you in the next one.